Okay, as you can see here now, I've basically bounced down all the audio from the previous session, and as you can no doubt see, I've coloured them all in colours. I've got the vocals in a blue, the bass in a black there, and then I've got the drums in a red and the main sample in a yellow there. But more importantly, you may also notice that the main sample, I've now consolidated it into just one track rather than the three that it took before. And basically that's just because it was the same sample, it just had different effects on it on different channels. So I've consolidated that together just to make it easier to mix. Now, a big mistake here would be to basically jump in and just start mixing this straight away without actually doing some general housework to it all. And before we mix, we should always ensure that we've done as much as possible to this audio to prepare it basically for mixing. Now, the first job we should do is basically cut out any silent parts of the audio. By that, I mean, if you look at this audio, there's a lot of silent parts in there. You can see there's nothing happening until about there. Now, this may seem like an absolute waste of time since there's nothing there but silence anyway, but you never can be sure. There could always be the odd strange glitch that's just found its way into there. And besides that, I'm not 100% trusting of any sequencer that silence is actually silence and won't affect how the audio engine works. So it's always worthwhile just popping on and any large segments of audio, just cut them out and basically trim it back. I think we'll have to zoom in on that. Basically just trim it back so there's as little as possible in there. It's just basically general housework here, and we want to do this on every channel. As you can see there, we've got the Vox there. There's no real need to cut them out, but I think we have huge gaps of silence like there. Oops, I've got that bit tight. Huge gaps of silence, we don't really want them in, so switch that off. Sometimes it does go a little goes a little too close when you don't want it to. So we just want to go along, we want to remove all the major silence. And we'll just cut that there, and finally I think pretty much that one there and there. Delete them. And I think I hope we're done there. Yeah. So, oops. No, I missed a few little bits out down there. Just get rid of that and that. And there we go. Basically, we just cut all the silence out there now. So there were actually some sounds going on, especially in between this, this final hit that was delayed that we had on the end of the MIDI part, the little click. It delayed over into these gaps where it should break. So it's a good job actually we cut the silence out because I managed to cut them out from occurring over, and it means they're not going to get in the way now. Right, the next thing we want to do is basically we want to solo all the drums there. And what we need to do is on every drum now, what we want to do is we want to insert a noise gate. Now, the reason that we want to do that is purely down to dynamics. Club music by its very nature has extremely dynamic drums. So what we need to do is we need to put a noise gate on each drum channel and basically set it so that we can set how the noise gate reacts, and we can make it more dynamic or less dynamic. So we'll start off with a kick. It's got to be an insert effect, obviously. Get it on there. Let's just have a listen. In fact, what we'll do is I'll unsolo them again, and we'll just listen to the kick, and I'll show you what I mean by this. Let's put it back to the beginning there. Now, pretty much immediate release. I'm sure you can hear there the difference it makes if we there it's quite longer, it's quite a long thud. There it's sounding more snappy. we don't want to go too mad with this. I'd say about there's okay. So it's got a nice dynamic hit to it there. So what we'll do is we'll do the clap next. This on and cycle this here. I'll cycle this part just so we can hear it. See the activity there, so it's definitely working on that if we bypass it. We'll apply it to all the drums basically. We'll apply it to all the drums here. I don't think that'll really require it there. That's only the click at the very end. We can leave that as is. We will apply it to the bass as well. Just to cut it off at the very end. Now that's going to sound a lot more snappy than it did before, for example. Just call the mixer up there. Now, if I bypass all these, if we listen to that first. If I bypass these, you can hear the difference there. Only very slight, but it's a lot more snappy, it's a lot more dynamic now, and that's what we need to use the noise gates for. Now, the next process that we generally put on here, if we had a more complex mix, we'd look towards using some transient processing. Now, if you've read the manual, you're going to basically know that anything with a sharp transient will appear to be louder than anything with a not so sharp transient, even if it is at the same volume. Now, knowing that means that if we adjust the transients of some sounds, for example, use the SPL Transient Designer, and we adjust the transient of the sound, we take away the attack, we'd actually push it back in the mix a little without having to adjust the volume. Now, basically, we don't really have to do that here because there's not a lot of elements in this mix, so I can't see we're going to have that much frequency clashing or fighting for positioning in the mix. So what we can do is we can bypass that, and basically we can jump onto our final processing, which is applying EQ. Now, basically, this isn't a mix EQ. What we're going to do is we're basically going to use the EQ here to just remove any frequencies that don't really contribute to the sound. Basically, removing any noise that may be present above or below the frequencies that make the timbre, but we're not actually using it to adjust the timbre. Now, it's incredibly important that we don't apply this too heavily, and we use a very good EQ to do this. So I'm going to use the Flux E-Pure. And basically what we do is we listen to each individual channel. I'll just solo them now. I can tell you straight away, there's not a high frequency energy there, so what we can do is we can take that away straight away. So what we'll do is, there we go. And we want to leave the low end of the kick alone, but we want to the clap. Again, we'll put the E-Pure on. What we'll do is, we know that there doesn't want to be a heavy bottom end in this, so the first thing we do is we can set that. We find where it starts touching the clap. Which is about there. It starts to affect the clap around there, so we want to remove the rubbish at the bottom end, and we'll try for the top end. I'll leave that right up there. And again, we do this with every single channel. We go through, and basically this is just a way to clean it off. We're just cleaning away any rubbish that may be at the top or the bottom. And we'll do it again. If we turn that, you can hear it affecting it there. It's not really affecting it there, so we can remove all that rubbish that may be down there. I imagine we're going to need all the top end of that one. It's the same with the other vocals. This one, we can set this proximally around the same. We know that we want to shift it to around just around 170, 180 hertz, as we did with the other vocals, just to remove any rubbish at this bottom end here that don't contribute to the sound at all. Now, with that done, basically what we want to do next is we've done our general housework there. We've put our noise gate on our drums, our EPU across. If this was a more complex mix, we would also be running a transient designer there to push a few instruments around the mix and position them in a general space. But what we want to do now, I think, is we want to start looking at mixing. I think what we'll do is we'll change these to mono. Those in mono. We'll leave those in stereo, the vocals. Actually, we'll leave the close hats in stereo as well. And the main sample obviously must remain in stereo, and that doesn't matter really. So what I think we'll do now is we'll bounce these down again. Yet again, with these effects applied now. And we'll do the same again. What we'll do is we'll cut up, we'll cut and chop along here and get it basically like it is now, except with these effects applied. And then I think we can start looking towards mixing this down and see if we can get it sounding well.